Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It is 2 o'clock. Apple time says it's 2 o'clock. Okay, again, welcome everyone. It is 2 o'clock. Welcome to Cabinet. As usual, this is broadcast live via the County Council's website and will be archived so you can view it afterwards. As you can see, when you see the wide shot, it's being held in person as well, as it's now possible for officers who are presenting the reports to join us. But we do have some officers who are presenting virtually. Can you note, please, that we've got 2 Cabinet members, Christine Redford and Richard Shepherd, who are feeling unwell, so wisely they've stayed at home, but they are joining us virtually. They will be able to speak and comment on anything, but they cannot vote on any items. Usual stuff about microphones on and microphones off, so the camera can follow the people that are speaking. So we go straight to apologies, and apart from the 2 people that are joining us virtually, we have none. Agenda item 1 is minutes. I move the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of September 2021 are taken as read, confirmed and signed. I move them, Deborah.
I'll second them.
Thank you. All happy? Very good. Agenda item 3 is the urgent items one. I've agreed to take 1 urgent item. This is a report from the Chief Executive regarding the development of the Hinckley and Bosworth Council's new local plan. This will be taken as agenda item 12 on the agenda. Declarations of interest. I understand we're going to have one from Ozzy. Ozzy.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to declare an interest as a member of Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council.
It is only a personal interest, isn't it, Ozzy?
It is only personal.
So Ozzy can remain. Next one, no others, no, thank you. So next one is Strategic Plan 2022 to 2026, pages 17 to 68. The report today seeks approval to consult on the draft strategic plan for the years I mentioned. We've got Tom Pennell here, who's the Assistant Chief Executive. He'll present the report, and then responsibility for this item is Pam Posnett, and she'll speak first. Tom.
Thank you, Leader. As you say, the report seeks Cabinet's approval to consult on an updated strategic plan covering the period 2022 to 2026. The proposed draft strategic plan in front of you sets out the County Council's proposed ambitions and priorities for that 4-year period. It outlines 5 strategic outcomes which describe the Council's vision for Leicestershire and are accompanied by specific aims and actions to deliver each outcome. The current strategic plan was signed off in 2018 and was amended in July 2020 to reflect the Council's declaration of a climate emergency, and that content still remains in the revised new plan. The proposed new plan reviews and refreshes the previous plan and particularly takes into account the impact of the pandemic, the UK's exit from the EU and other developments. The proposed 5 strategic outcomes are set out in paragraph 21 of the report. They are, and I'll just cover each of them very briefly, they are clean, green future. This is a new outcome focusing on tackling climate change, biodiversity loss and unsustainable resource usage. Great communities, which is a revised outcome, which covers equality and diversity, community engagement, volunteering, community resilience and cultural and historic heritage. Improving opportunities, another new outcome focused on ensuring disadvantaged children and families are able to access the opportunities they need to reach their full potential. Strong economy, transport and infrastructure. This is an expanded version of the previous strong economy outcome with an enhanced focus on transport and digital connectivity. That outcome also covers housing growth and related issues. And finally, keeping safe and well, which is a merger of 2 previous outcomes, and that prioritises people being safe, healthy and well in their daily lives, protecting vulnerable people and supporting carers and those with care needs to live active, independent and fulfilling lives. Once approved, the plan will provide an important strategic framework for all of the work of the Council. A 12-week consultation on the draft plan is proposed to be carried out between 1st of November and the 21st of January next year, with the outcome of that consultation being reported to Cabinet next March and a final revised strategic plan going to County Council for approval in May of next year. The recommendations are as on the order paper.
Thank you, Tom. Pam?
Thank you, Leader. The strategic plan does set out the council's long-term visions and aspirations, along with the aims and actions for the next 4 years. And the plan is based, as Tom said, on 5 broad aspirational and strategic outcomes, which reflect the council's broad range of responsibilities and its capacity to influence residents, community groups and partners. And when the consultations are launched, I would really advocate that people look at them and take part in them, because it is set out to improve the lives and also the environment for all local people. And as lead member, I am pleased to move this motion on the order paper.
Thank you, Pam. Lee?
Thank you, Leader. Happy to second this draft plan. I think it's a good plan. I like the fact that the key outcomes reflect the remit of our lead department. So look forward to the public and the various respondees engaging with it, and let's get some good feedback in on the plan. Thank you.
I have no other speakers, so the motion was moved by Pam and seconded by Lee. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Number 5 is the draft community strategy, Leicestershire County Council collaborating with our communities approach 2022 to 2026, pages 69 to 90. This item seeks approval to engage again, and you're introducing this, Tom, and then I'm going to go to Pam first. Tom?
Thank you, Leader. The report proposes that a draft updated community strategy be approved for consultation and engagement with the community. So similarly to the previous item, the draft community strategy sets out the council's proposed approach to collaborating with communities, and it will replace and build on the current strategy, which has proved effective in guiding the council's work in recent years to support, strengthen, and empower the county's communities. Achievements secured during delivery of the current strategy are summarised at paragraphs 13 to 15. The new strategy will cover the same period as the draft strategic plan and sets out a proposed approach for the council to work with communities, which will help communities reach their own objectives, but also help deliver the strategic plan too. The key principles of the proposed approach are set out at paragraph 19, and the 3 principles are prevention, supporting and enabling citizens to help themselves and others to help reduce demand for services, engagement, building trusting relationships to define and design local solutions with local communities, so around cooperation and collaboration with communities, and thirdly, catalysts, supporting voluntary organisations, social enterprises and town and parish councils to provide local services and activities. The proposed approach will support communities to achieve their goals through co-production and collaboration, helping to build community capacity and assets, and in doing that, support communities to build back better following the pandemic. Paragraph 21 to 23 sets out the proposed approach to engagement, very similar to the strategic plan. So these two consultations will run in parallel. It proposes a 12-week engagement exercise from the start of November to 21st of January, with Cabinet considering the strategy in March and full council in May next year. Recommendations as on the order paper.
Thank you, Tom. Pam?
Thank you very much. Again, it's a very good strategy that the officers have worked very hard on to update it. And I think during the pandemic, we learnt a lot about communities and how they act together and how they work. And what we want to do is to be able to support them, not to stop them doing what they want to do, but to support them and assist the communities in achieving the aims that they've got for the place that they live in and for their community. So I have no problems in moving this strategy on the order paper.
Thank you, Pam. Lee?
Yeah, happy to second again. Look forward to the results of the very detailed engagement process. Thank you.
Okay, I have no other speakers. Moved by Pam, again seconded by Lee. All in favour? Thank you very much. National Bus Strategy, pages 91 to 234. This provides an update on the work associated with the implementation of Bus Back Better, the National Bus Strategy. sets out the financial implications and seeks approval for the Leicestershire Bus Service Improvement Plan, which will inform the proposals for an associated enhanced partnership plan and scheme in line with the Department of Transport's requirements and timescales. With us today, we've got Anne Carruthers, Director of Environment and Transport, who will present, and then I'll be going to Ozzy O'Shea, who has responsibility. Morning, Anne. Well, sorry, afternoon, Anne.
Good afternoon, Leader. Quite right in saying government issued its national bus strategy in June this year and committed £3 billion to its delivery. As part of that, the County Council has agreed to set up an enhanced partnership with all the local bus operators. This is a partnership arrangement with the overarching purpose of improving bus services in the county. The next requirement of the National Bus Strategy is for us to publish a Bus Service Improvement Plan, a BSIP, which sets out the work that the enhanced partnership will do together to improve bus services. Government is clear that they want to see ambitious plans. In developing our BSIP, we carried out engagement from mid-June to the end of July and received just under 1,500 responses. Paragraphs 36 to 47 summarise those responses with details in Appendix A of the report. We used this engagement response and working with the bus operators, we have developed the BSIP that's appended as Appendix B to your report. The actions to be taken under the BSIP to improve bus services sit under a number of themes. These are single system, make it easy and streamlined for users, reliability of the services, affordable, easy to use and greener, reflecting the role buses can play in reducing our transport-related carbon emissions. The BSIP needs to be submitted to government by the end of this month, along with a funding template setting out indicative costs of implementation. Now, I would stress these are indicative costs because we've had very little time to do any work to do more detailed costings. You'll see, however, from the report and the funding template Appendix C that those costs are likely to be substantial in the order of 200 million over a 10-year period. I should emphasise, however, the extent we're able to deliver on these ambitious plans for bus services will be entirely dependent on the amount we're able to draw down from government from their National Bus Strategy funding. The next steps in the process, subject to Cabinet approval today, are to submit the BSIP to government and the cost information by the end of the month, to consult with bus operators on the enhanced partnership scheme. That's a statutory requirement of the process. Subject to no objections to that, we then undertake a public consultation on the enhanced partnership scheme over the winter, with the report coming in March to Cabinet on the outcome of that consultation, and then subject to the necessary approvals to then seek authority to implement that enhanced partnership and begin the work to implement and deliver the BSIP itself. Last point from me, in the short term, we have an existing public transport policy and strategy, and we will continue to use that in the short term to assess the need to support bus services where they're no longer commercially viable. Recommendations are as per the order paper.
Thank you. And before I go to Ozzy, the only thing I noticed is only 5% of people who responded were under the age of 25. I mean, I know the responses weren't exactly huge for saying we've got 700,000 odd people in the county, but it's disappointing that we didn't get more young people respond. How can we try? I know it's hard to get them to respond. How can we try to get them to respond?
As you say, it's always very difficult to engage certain groups and things like this, young people are. What we can continue to do is try different channels, the social media channels, etc., not just our, the traditional kind of engagement things. We did try on this one, but, it is that case. We need to keep pressing and engaging through channels that young people are using, but it continues to be a challenge.
Thank you. Over to you, Ozzy.
Thank you, Leader. I agree and concur with what Anna has said, and I support it totally. The publication of the National Bus Strategy is another radical change, though, in government transport policy. I welcome Leicestershire's bus service improvement plan and the hard work that officers have actually put into the work in a very short period of time, and I look forward to taking this plan forward with our team.
Indeed, it was a short period of time. Louise?
Thank you. I'm happy to second it. I'm pleased to see us working with the bus companies, and I think it's really important for us to try and improve the public transport system. So happy to support.
Thank you. I've no other speakers, so moved by Ozzy, seconded by Louise. All in favour? Thank you. 7, Leicestershire Domestic Abuse Reduction Strategy 2022 to 2024, pages 235 to 242. This report seeks our approval for the approach being taken to discharging the duties placed on the Council under the Domestic Abuse Act 2021, including the development of the draft Leicestershire Domestic Abuse Reduction Strategy 2021 to 2024. We've got Jane Moore with us, Director of Children and Family Services, and she's joined by Gurjit. Greetings. The Community Safety Manager, who will then go to Deborah to speak. So are you doing it, Jane, or Gurjit? Okay, Jane.
Thank you, Leader. I'll introduce and Gurjit will take us through the report. So the report sets out our approach to the Board Leicestershire County Council to discharge our duties under the new Domestic Abuse Act, and also presents the draft outline of the strategy. The duties in the Act are placed on the entire County Council, and we are taking a public health approach to ensure that the strategy is both needs and evidence led. I'll hand over to Gurjit to take us through it.
Thank you. The Domestic Abuse Act received royal assent in April 2021. The Act places a duty on Tier 1 local authorities, so Leicestershire County Council, to provide accommodation-based support to victims of domestic abuse and their children in safe accommodation, including refuges, and provide clarity over governance and accountability. And this requires Tier 2 authorities, so district councils, to cooperate with the lead authority. A multi-agency domestic abuse local partnership board must be appointed for Leicestershire, and options are currently being considered to look into whether an existing board can discharge this governance duty. And at the minute, we're looking at the Leicestershire Safer Community Strategy Board, or the LSCSB. A strategic needs assessment must be undertaken to inform the development of the strategy, and that's currently underway. Funding has been allocated by the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities, formerly MHCLG, and a Leicestershire Domestic Abuse Act and Funding Group has been convened to take this work forward. It's a requirement of the Act to produce a domestic abuse reduction strategy, and the draft Leicestershire domestic abuse reduction strategy will have 5 priorities at paragraph 25. They are early intervention and prevention, targeted support, reachable services, Domestic Abuse Act, so the part 4 of the duty around safe accommodation, and strong partnerships. Further detail is included in the appendix to the report. An 8-week public consultation is planned beginning from today, going on to the 21st of December, and the plan is to seek co-production through the consultation of the strategy. A full equality human rights impact assessment will be undertaken, and the recommendations are on the order paper.
Thank you very much, Gurjit. Deborah Taylor, Deputy Leader.
Thank you. As advised, this is to our plan how we discharge our duty under the Domestic Abuse Act 2021. I think we know all too well the increases of domestic abuse that we've seen during the pandemic, but I think we also understand a lot more now about the effects on families and particular children who witness domestic abuse. The funding we've received from central government will not over-commission services that are therapeutic and advocacy support, but also look at providing safe accommodation. So we really want to see what gaps we have in our support that we already offer people and their families who suffer from domestic abuse. So as we reach out to people who've used our services in the past, we're urging them to come forward as we gather information about what more we need to do to support people in our area. Once we've completed our strategic need assessment, we can then start to make improvements to our support services. As Gurjit just advised, the consultation will run from today until the 31st of December, and the consultation will involve group and individual workshops with victims and survivors, including children and young people, questionnaires, surveys and forums, and this consultation will be promoted through our online and traditional media outlets. And I just want to say, obviously, we're asking people to come forward that have suffered from domestic abuse and are survivors of domestic abuse. And we understand it could be quite traumatic for them to come forward. But just to reassure people, if they do come forward, we've got the services there to support them. So I urge people to come forward to make sure we have the best possible service we can in Leicestershire.
Thank you, Deborah. Louise?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to second this. Very important work, and I think what you've, the basis of this is a really good plan. So thank you.
Great. Well, we know the speakers. I'll just say a couple of things. I mean, I've been watching a TV program on Netflix called Made, and it's opened my eyes really, because not all abuse is physical. It's psychological, it's bullying, it's verbal. And the thing I noticed about that, and I know it's not this country, but how hard it was for the girl in question to access the services. And when she actually managed to find the access, the amount of paperwork and stuff that she had to fill in. So it's important that we recognise that not all abuse is physical, isn't it? Is it, Gurjit?
Absolutely, that's right.
Okay, so we have no other speakers. So a move by Deborah, seconded by Louise. All in favour? Thank you. Very good. Agenda item 8 is the 0 to 19 Healthy Child Programme, procurement of a new service model. This is on pages 243 to 298. It's a report concerning the 0 to 19 Healthy Child Programme. The report details the outcome of the consultation on the proposed new service model and seeks approval of the final service model so procurement can commence. With us today, we've got Mike Sands, Director of Public Health, to present the report. He's joined by Kelly Marie, Consultant in Public Health. I'll then ask Louise Richardson, who leads on this as the first member. Nice to see you, Mike. Not talking about COVID for a change, but over to you.
Can do if you want, but maybe I'll give it a miss today. So I'm only going to say exactly what you did. The report outlines the results of the consultation we did on the proposed new 0 to 19 service model and presents the finalised service model that we want to go out to procurement for. But I'll hand over to Kelly to do a quick summary.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes, so the report, hopefully you can see the outcome of the consultation and the seek of approval for the final service model and request to go out to tender and enter any contractual arrangements necessary. So the Healthy Child Programme, hopefully you're all aware, is a statutory function of the public health grant. So we either have to commission it or provide it ourselves. And those elements include 5 universal checks for families with children under 5 and the National Child Measurement Programme that happens at in reception and then at year 6. But in addition to those mandated elements, it also gives an opportunity for this public health nursing staff to access the home environment, see what relationships are like in the home and what parenting skills there are, and also an opportunity to assess the child's development and identify any families that might need support, additional support earlier. There was a recent review looking at the first 1001 critical days, and that actually recommended 2 additional checks, in particular at 3 to 4 months and then 3.5 years, or 3 to 3.5 years. So we included this within the consultation and included it within the new service model. Details of the service model can be found in Appendix A, starting on page 257. The report sets out the consultation process we went through and the results from page 250 onwards. So I won't go into those, but it identified areas of the current service model that could be improved and also areas that the service could focus on. So it was generally positive, and all of those suggestions have been considered within the new service model. The proposed model was revised slightly based on the consultation, recognising that children and young people are on that development pathway, and therefore the 2 services really need to work really closely together. And also there was feedback from secondary school age pupils around confidentiality, and they wanted to ensure the service that they could access was confidential, so not always via a telephone, but more online or via apps. So that was also considered within the new service model. But you can see the detail of the comparisons between what's currently offered and what is proposed to be offered, again in Appendix A, tables 1 and 2 from page 259 onwards. So the new service model will allow better integration with the Council's Children and Families Directorate, but then also our universal prevention offer through the Healthy Schools programme, allowing us to target support where necessary. So subject to Cabinet approval. For procurement, the timelines are tender opportunity published end of November, beginning of December. and awarding the contract as of the 1st of September 2022. So hopefully the paper's demonstrated that the public consultation has highlighted areas within the current service model that needs improvement to meet the needs of the children and young people in the county, and then also priorities outlined via the consultation have been included within the new service model to ensure this service contributes to children and young people growing up in Leicestershire, getting the best start for life and filling their full potential. So it's requested that Cabinet approve the recommendations set out in the order paper.
Thank you. Louise.
Thank you, Leader. I welcome this. Thank Kelly for all the work she's done on this. I welcome the better integration between the council and the other providers as well. Clearer pathways and effective targeting. I think the 2 additional checks in the 0 to 11 service are really welcome, and I think they will do an awful lot to picking up children's developmental needs going forward. Pleased with the transition between primary and secondary to close any gaps that are there. And I'm pleased that the new service for 11 to 19s will prioritise mental health and emotional wellbeing alongside the maintaining a healthy weight and building better relationships and trying to prevent substance abuse. So thank you.
Very good. Deborah.
Thank you. Very happy to second the motion on the order paper, and it's really good to see that you've taken on board the feedback from the consultation. I think that just goes to prove that we do listen to consultation, and the more people that respond to a consultation, the better service we're going to be able to provide for them. So really good to see that. Really good to see the 1001 critical days included within this. Obviously, that's within my remit under children and families. We're really keen for that 1001 critical days. We're always highlighting that. And really good to see our 2 departments working even more closely together, the children and families and the public health team. And I think going forward, that partnership, not over at political level, but officer level, is getting stronger and stronger all the time. So, yeah, really happy to second this.
All seems very good. Moved by Louise, seconded by Deborah. All in favour, please. Thank you. Agenda item 9, exception to contract procedure rules, urgent action taken by the Chief in relation to the appointment of a supplier to provide enhanced substance abuse services in line with the Public Health England Universal Inpatient Detoxification Grants. This is on 299 to 302. Straight to you, Mike.
Thank you, Leader. So, as you say, purpose of this report is to advise the Cabinet of urgent action undertaken by the Chief Executive to agree an exception to our procurement rules in relation to our substance misuse service. The meat of this really is paragraphs 13 to 16 on the start of Part B. So, Public Health England, now the United Kingdom Health Security Agency, announced 2 one-off pots of money to supplement existing substance misuse provision over the start of the year. One of that was in relation to inpatient detoxification services. The other was in relation to our community-based treatment services. Of course, ordinarily with our substance misuse services, we go out to tender. The nature of the grant conditions were that PHE wanted this to be an extension to existing service provision as opposed to being new provision. And actually, as part of the grant bidding process, we needed to actually name the intended service providers. So a little bit like Eon with the winter warmth work we've been doing, we've sort of not stitched ourselves up, but the nature of the grant is we can't go out to tender, we need to do a direct award. Given the tight deadlines, of course, ordinarily we would come to Cabinet for approval in advance of the direct award. Because of the tight deadlines on the bid, we were unable to, and that's why we pushed it through under Chief Executive powers to meet the deadline for grant funding. Happy to report that both the awards, both the bids were successful, and we've attracted not far short of £750,000 over the summer to supplement existing service provision. So that's about it, really. The recommendations are as per the order paper, with apologies from me. Obviously, it was over summer. We just missed the July deadline. And of course, there was no Cabinet in August, and should have come here last month, but I was a little bit busy doing COVID stuff, so I'll beg Cabinet's forgiveness for that one.
Yes, the Chief spoke to me about it, so I have no problems. I'll move the recommendations. Deborah?
Happy to second.
All in favour, please show. Thanks, Mike. Agenda item 10, response to the Oadby and Wigston Borough Council's new local plan. Issues and Options Consultation 303 to 382. This report advises the Cabinet on the content of the Oby and Wigston Borough Council's new local plan and seeks approval for comments to be submitted to that Borough Council as the views of the County Council. Tom's back, so over to you, Tom.
Yes, thank you, Leader. The report proposes a response to Oby and Wigston Borough Council on its new local plan issues and options consultation. This is what is known as a Regulation 18 consultation and forms a very early stage in the Borough Council's local plan review. The consultation document sets out what the Borough Council considers to be the key challenges for the period up to 2041 and offers a set of potential options to address those challenges. I think it's fair to say at this stage it is mainly exploratory, with the council seeking views from partners, other stakeholders, businesses and communities to inform the next stage, which will be a consultation on preferred options expected in the early summer of next year. Key comments in the proposed response are summarised in paragraphs 35 to 87, with the proposed full response contained in the appendix to the report. The proposed response seeks to ensure the local plan is aligned to both the County Council strategic plan and to the strategic growth plan. It also seeks to ensure that the plan provides a robust policy framework for the planning and funding of the infrastructure and services required to support the plan's successful delivery. An important part of the plan making process is that there is strong collaboration between the Borough Council and the range of stakeholders, including the County Council. The report stresses this, including in the resource implications section in Part A of the report, and recommends that partnership working arrangements between the two councils are formalised early in the plan preparation process. The overview of comments in Part B of the report is lengthy, as you'll see, and I won't seek to summarise those now. I'll just pick out two overarching issues. Firstly, the response states that the new local plan should, as far as possible, seek to locate the borough's future growth in sustainable locations that are in close proximity to existing employment, shops and leisure, and where it is necessary to allocate further greenfield sites, these should be in locations capable of being served by cycling and walking infrastructure and be financially viable and sustainable. And secondly, given the location of the borough, it is noted that there will be significant transport interactions between growth locations in the borough and other parts of Leicester and Leicestershire, particularly Leicester City. And it's important that the local plan seeks to ensure effective transport connectivity to the facilities and services which will be provided to residents of the borough from elsewhere in the city and the county. As the plan moves forward over the next 2 years, and with adoption expected at the end of 2023, there will be further opportunities for Cabinet to comment on and influence the plan. Recommendations are as on the order paper.
This is my responsibility. I think it's an excellent report, Tom, and excellent comments, ones which could virtually be replicated across the whole county to all borough councils. So I'll just move the recommendations. Deborah?
Yep, very happy to second the motion on the order paper, and I think your department's keeping very busy with all the local plans that are coming forward. So thank you very much for keeping us well informed.
Thank you. We have no other people who indicated to speak. Moved by me, seconded by Deborah. All in favour, please. Thank you, Tom. Items referred from over in scrutiny, there are none. And we've got the urgent item, which I mentioned earlier, which is another local plan, Hinckley and Bosworth new local plan, seeking Cabinet's approval of the authorities regulating 18. Oh, no, we did that. OK, I'll just hand over to you, Lauren. You know what it's about.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This item is an update to the report presented to the last meeting of the Cabinet on the 17th of September concerning the local plan for the Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council, which is intended to set out the objectives for housing and growth up to 2039. Cabinet in September approved the County Council's response at the first stage of the consultation process. At the same time, in light of the impact of the plan on local and strategic highways and the need to take a strategic approach to education and other infrastructure provision, as well as the need to secure deliverable planned growth supported by infrastructure, the County Council advised Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council that the County Council considered that partnership working arrangements between the borough and county and other partners, notably National Highways, needed to be formalised as a matter of urgency. and that it would be necessary to identify transport mitigation measures and strategies to support the delivery of the plan, recognising the financial pressures on the County Council. The County Council therefore requested the Borough Council to delay progressing the Regulation 19 stage of the local plan, the next stage in the consultation process, in order for the draft to be fully informed by the transport evidence. There was and remains concern that there is no transport assessment or modelling as part of the evidence base for the formal consultation on the plan, and that this is something which the County Council would need to see at the point of a local plan submission, so that there is a clear understanding of the likely impact and planned mitigation, including the scope, scale and deliverability of the transport measures required. Since the Cabinet decision in September, officers from the Growth Service and Highways Directorate have had several meetings with officers from the Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council, seeking to provide advice and assistance with the intention of supporting the development of a sound and deliverable new local plan. Despite this, it's emerged via those meetings that the Borough Council still have to confirm the definitive set of housing and employment sites that it intends to include in the Regulation 19 plan, and still has to undertake the evidence work to assess the impacts of the definitive set of sites on the strategic and local infrastructure and services. And there's still a need to assess the requirements for the supporting and mitigating infrastructure and measures. Consequently, it's not been possible for the County Council to assess their cost and deliverability implications. Officers are of the view that despite the consequences being made clear, including the points set out in the September Cabinet report, the Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council intends still to proceed with their local plan on the current timeline. That is, submitting their Regulation 19 local plan to the Council in November, seeking approval to consult, even though it's acknowledged that key pieces of evidence, particularly in relation to highways impacts, are not in place. It's recommended, therefore, that the County Council continue to work with the Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council to seek to develop a local plan, and that the Borough Council be advised that if it decides to publish a Regulation 19 plan, the County Council is likely to raise a formal objection. Those are the recommendations as set out on the order paper, Leader.
Thank you. I'll formally move the recommendations. I mean, they do say what we want to do. We want to continue to work with them to develop a local plan that is sound in planning terms. And if they publish the Regulation 19 without dealing with the other issues, we will have to object. I mean, none of us are opposed to development in Leicestershire, but we've always said we are opposed to development without infrastructure. And if they don't, you can't just build thousands of houses without infrastructure, and the absolute basic infrastructure is the ability to get to them, let alone schools and other facilities. So it's a shame that we've got to do this, but I think we do have to protect ourselves and the people of Hinckley Bosworth from unfettered development without infrastructure. I'll formally move the motion. I shall go to Deborah to speak next, then to you, Peter. Deborah.
Thank you. I'm happy to second this motion. I just hope Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council heed our advice and continue to work with us and delay putting in their Regulation 19, because the worst possible thing is to found that the plan unsound at examination in public. We need to get it through, and we all want it to get through, but they need to take a step back and continue working with us and get all their ducks lined up before they put forward for an examination.
Be good if they had any ducks to line up. Peter.
Thank you, Leader. It's disappointing that we've got to this position, because I've appeared before the Borough Council's Planning Committee on many occasions, speaking on a number of applications in my division, particularly Desford, where comments have been made by the administration on the Planning Committee that they believe the County Council hasn't engaged with them on transport issues, for example, on highways. So it's disappointing to see that they are not developing that on those problems that they've raised with me on previous occasions. So that's really disappointing to see. Combined with the fact that the Borough Council doesn't have a 5-year housing land supply, means that many of villages in Hinckley and Bosworth, particularly in my division, in Markfield, Desford and Thornton, are open to speculative applications, and as the report states, with these speculative applications comes that lack of infrastructure. Without a sound local plan, residents aren't protected from those applications, and the infrastructure isn't delivered in place. I'm sure Ozzy's got a number of examples that he would like to bring in where he can share his frustrations about the lack of progress made by the Borough Council. But I very much support your comments, Leader, around we want to work collaboratively as a county council with the Borough Council to ensure that actually we do get a sound plan in place and that plan protects local residents from those speculative applications.
Thank you, Peter. I've also been canvassing in Stoke Golding, where the lack of local plan is particularly unpopular, and also in Higham on the Hill, where it's particularly unpopular. But Aussie's got some areas where it's unpopular as well.
Yes, unfortunately, my ward has suffered greatly under the lack of 5-year housing supply, and when I see what has been delivered in my ward by the Borough Council recently, I'm very disturbed. We've had the best part of 268 houses on Martfield Road granted, one application of which had been refused by a planning inspector and a High Court judge, and yet it was told that meant nothing because they have no 5-year supply. Now, I want, as a member of Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council, I want the council to work collaboratively with our highways officers and our teams here at the county council to get a secure, positive local plan that protects the communities from speculative development. We need to look at the plan, we need to put it in place, and we need to make sure that the development is in the right places and not speculative. This council, the officers that I work with on highways, are dedicated people, and they are dedicated to working with Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council. And I want the officers at Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council to actually work with our colleagues here in highways to achieve a decent, proper, sound local plan. We all here we don't want to put objections into the local plan because we want to work with them. We want to see the communities across Hinckley and Bosworth get what they are deserved, and that is a proper planning position with a proper local plan that dedicates housing, business properties in the right places with the right infrastructure. So that is my concern. It's not a matter that we're trying to beat them with a stick. We are working and trying to, and have been working with that council to achieve the best for them. Thank you.
I have no other speakers. It was moved by myself and seconded by Deborah. All in favour, please. Thank you. There's one exempt report, so I'm going to bring the public session of this Cabinet meeting to a close, and I move that under Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded for the following item of business on the grounds that involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 3 and 5 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and that in all circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. I move. Deborah?
Happy to second.
All in favour, please show. Thank you. That was passed. So if you just wait a minute while we switch off all the external